sore. All right. So first things first, just want to thank everybody for all the feedback on the vlog from the New York City Half Marathon. A lot of you have said a lot of nice things or just had feedback and appreciated seeing the race and everything like that. But at this point, that race is in the rearview mirror, so it's time to start talking about which training plan I'm going to use, or what kind of training buildup I'm going to use, and which of the upcoming races is going to be my peak race that I use that training for. So there's a lot of stuff on the horizon, but yeah, I want to break down kind of my training plans, going through all the races and everything, which one I'm going to peak for, and hopefully make another attempt at improving my half marathon time here in New York. So yeah, let's get into that today, and we'll see how the rest of this week's recovery goes. All right, everybody, so the first run post New York City Half Marathon is in the books. Really just an effort on keeping it very light and easy. As I feel like I'm going forwards and moving through my run, most of my body feels pretty comfortable. Honestly, I don't feel anything that's too tired or sore. Moving in a flat, straight line is relatively doable, but where I do feel most of the soreness, like I mentioned in the beginning, is still just in my quads. And, I think that just still comes from a lot of the downhill efforts during the New York City Half Marathon, the coming off of the bridge, some of the downhills in Central Park, even the downhills in the very beginning in Prospect Park and kind of out on the road right alongside Prospect Park. Just a lot of downhill efforts, and those are notoriously going to put a lot of soreness into your quads. I know several people who will avoid large downhills in their training because they don't want it to take too much out of their training into the next week, because it can really put a dent in everything, again, just because of the soreness and the effort it takes to go downhill while running. A lot of people underestimate it. Anyway, with that out of the way, let's just touch really quickly on what today's run effort was. Here it is on your screen right now. And, really basically each mile started 10:34 per mile, 10:17 per mile, 10:10 per mile, overall average pace of 10:20 per mile for our 3-mile recovery run. Now, with that out of the way, let's start to talk about the training going forward for what is going to be my next peak race. About 8 weeks from now is the New York Roadrunners Brooklyn Half Marathon, and I think this year it's called the RBC Brooklyn Half Marathon. It used to be called the Popular Brooklyn Half Marathon. It's just based on the race sponsor. RBC is what, like the Royal Bank of Canada or something like that? I don't know. But either way, that is going to be the peak race that I'm training for now. And I want to share with you the training block, or like the training that I'm going to be doing over the next 8 weeks, I guess, before that race, going into that for another peak effort. Now, there's a lot of other races along the way. And I also just want to put out there that, you know, for the New York City Half Marathon, I followed a base plan that was based off the Hal Higdon plan. That's a pretty well-known plan out there. People train with it all the time. There's an app for it, all that good stuff. This plan that I did for the Brooklyn Half Marathon in May is entirely my plan. So take it with a grain of salt. Honestly, nobody should probably follow it. Not because I made it. I have some idea of what I'm doing, but the reason that it is the way it is because I have so many races mixed in between. So it's a training plan built around fun races in the middle, around just building some more mileage, and then a taper before the Brooklyn Marathon, you know, in May, Brooklyn Half Marathon. It's a little bit funky. It's not entirely logical if you're just training right now, 8 weeks away from a Brooklyn Half Marathon as well. So just keep that in mind as I share the plan. So here it is now. And you'll have to forgive me for looking down at my phone because there's a lot going on. Basically, it starts with this week, and this week is really focused 100% on recovery. You know, today was the first 3-mile run, very, very easy effort. Honestly, some of the other 3-mile runs that I have, you know, scheduled this week for a total of 9 miles, I may change them. I may spend 30 minutes on the elliptical. I may go for a bike ride next weekend instead of running. Just something to stay active. You know, really, there's no point or rhyme or reason to the mileage this week. It was just an idea that I put on paper in the beginning, and I'm already kind of seeing, you know, maybe I'll take a little bit more time off or just vary the workouts a little bit more this week. So as we get into the week after this one, you can see it's what's labeled as week 1, and that starts on March 28th. So that week, I'm not going to go through every single thing in detail because you can see it, but you can see that week starts off with 24 miles. So jumping back up pretty quickly to kind of the mid-level mileage for my New York City half marathon training efforts. And you'll see that overall, I'm jumping up pretty quickly into the 24, 25 mile range. And my goal really is just to get to, you know, about 33, 34, up in the mid 30s as far as overall mileage before tapering into the half. Because I just want to continue to like elevate my mileage a little bit as I've kind of recovered from some of the kind of ankle and knee issues going into the New York City Marathon in 2021. So about 24 miles that week, and you'll see that Sunday is the first race of many of all the weeks leading into that Brooklyn Half Marathon. It's the JP Morgan Run is one. This is a New York Roadrunners race, and it's a 4-miler. So a lot of these races, I'm not necessarily going to push hard effort. I'm going to treat it like a, you know, tempo run. I'll probably run not at what could be my 4-mile race pace, but maybe like my half marathon pace. So something around like 8:30, 8:45 for that 5-mile race, a 4-mile race. Spend more effort, you know, filming, having some fun, getting some good shots of the race overall, so I can share it all with all of you. The next week goes up a little bit to 25.5 miles, and that's the weekend. Again, on a Sunday, there's a race. That's going to be the 15K trail race out on Long Island in New York. And that particular race, I'm going to be pacing my brother and trying to help him as he goes into his first kind of long distance effort as a runner himself. The next week, bumping it up to 29 miles. You'll see an 11-mile long run in there. The week after that, we have Sunday, another race. That's actually the New York City Runs Brooklyn Half Marathon, not to be mixed up with the New York Roadrunners Brooklyn Half Marathon. So that's going to be treated again kind of like a long run. It'll bring me up to 31 miles for that week. The week after that, we've got the Breakneck Ridge Half Marathon. This is not even a trail, it's a trail half marathon. To me, it's a mountain half marathon. I'm usually a road-based runner. This is really going to be my first effort up on, some real trails. These are the mountains kind of out and around me right where I live now, so I'm very familiar with them, but I'm not good at running at any kind of fast pace up or down them. And also you'll see that the overall mileage is generally cut back because, one, that'll be a hard effort, but two, also just need some general mileage cut back after we've been building for the first, 1, 2, 3, 4 weeks of that particular training block. The week after, you'll see that I do bump up to a 14-mile long run. This is essentially my peak week, which is topping out at 33 miles if everything kind of goes as planned. And, I mentioned in my New York City half video that I felt like I missed going a little bit longer. My last training block only topped out at 12 miles, so I am going to bump it up to 14 for this particular training block. Then you'll see a taper begins down to 24 miles with an 8-mile long run, which worked for me pretty well going to the New York City half. And then the New York Roadrunners Brooklyn Half Marathon is actually on a Saturday, so you'll just kind of see some of the runs shift a little bit here and there on like the other days of the week, and that's again just because the Brooklyn race is on Saturday. I can share the link to this training plan like I did for New York City Half in the description of this video, but like I said, just take it with a grain of salt. This is my own creation, and it's a creation based on 3 half marathons and then a 4th, which is another peak race. It's built around that. So it's not exactly built for the masses to train carefully into a race. It's built for me and what I'm doing over the next 8 weeks or so. So that's it. I'm sorry, kind of a wordy one, but people have been looking to see what I'm planning on doing for the next 8 weeks or so into the next peak race. So there it is. Thanks for watching, everybody. I hope you enjoyed, and I hope to see you in the next video.